Hi everyone, welcome to today's session. Today's session is entirely focused on new technologies and how they are changing the B2B business. While the rest is slowly joins, we will start with the latest news. And the news article is about the American automotive maker Ford, who recently obtained a patent for an augmented reality image generating unit. Many of these patents aim to increase the number of use cases and integrations for immersive technologies, including AR-assisted parking, AR-assisted sun glare prevention, and vehicle location and search. For the latest patent system, Ford will provide drivers with information about road conditions, for example, and they do that while driving, including avoiding obstacles, sharing, avoiding animals, and other road hazards that could cause issues. The augmented reality technologies could also save lives during the busy periods like the holidays, which are coming, and other peak traffic times. Other developments in the automotive AR space include Raything's AR HUD solution, Audi's Active Sphere concept car, and BMW's partnership with Basemark for AR overlays. And they're all contributing to improve driver safety and improve navigation. So once again, a warm welcome to everyone who's joining today's session about new technologies. We've got a packed agenda for today. We'll start with the topic introduction by customer journey experts who are mapping the technological developments based on Ray Kurzweil's predictions. We have Digital Commerce 360, who will discuss the speed at which B2B sellers adopt new technologies. Smart Commerce will outline the digital innovation landscape and roadmap for 2024. Room will take us into the world of virtual commerce through various examples. Fischer will explain how they handle new technologies and smartly integrate them. And at last, Intershop will showcase the possibilities offered by the Intershop platform. Feel free to ask any questions during the session. Please ask them in the chat and we will discuss them at the end of the session. I would like to hand over to Arjen from Customer Journey Experts, who will introduce today's topic.
Hi, good afternoon. Well, this is going to be a very exciting session because we're going to look into the future. We're going to zoom in on how technology can enable enables opportunities in the B2B sphere. And these are really exciting times. What we're witnessing at this moment is that we are really moving fast. This week we had the birthday of ChatGPT, the 1-year birthday with over 100 million of users. Google announced Google Gemini today, or yesterday, and I all advise you to watch what they actually published. There's an excellent video on YouTube where they showcase what they foresee Gemini to be able of. What it is that this is all part of a huge development where we're entering the individual age. So if you look at where we're coming from mass distribution, we saw that technology enabled a vast change in how we look at doing commerce. From starting to do business on the internet to doing that on a mobile phone, to use it in AOT connected devices. And now we're entering the world, and that is a far bigger revolution than the appearance of internet caused. We're entering the individual age driven by AI. And today we're going to look a little further ahead than just tomorrow, and we do that on based on the predictions of Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil, currently Chief Technology Officer at Google, did some interesting predictions in the 1990s based on Moore's law. And Moore's law is actually saying that the amount of transistors on a microchip is doubling every 2 years. That increases enormously the speed of computers, the speed of the processor speed of computers, and it also reduces the cost, and it reduces the size of computers. And what he predicted, and mind you, this was in the 1990s, he predicted what you see on this slide, and pretty much everything what he predicted to be reality in somewhere between 2019 and 2029 is what we see here. And we know we have instant translation. We know that we have DALL-E that can create art and other generative AI solutions that can do that. We have autonomous driving. So if you look what he predicts after this stage, he predicts that we even get further, that computers get further into understanding how our brain works, that computers can start understanding what we mean, and far better than maybe humans can do themselves, that we will see an integration of computers into our bodies, and that will be driven by nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is those increasingly smaller microchips that can be inserted into our veins, so that computers are actually entering our body and can understand how, truly how our brain works. And this is also the moment, and that's maybe hard to imagine right now, that we start connecting our brain to the internet. If we understand how our brain works, if we can insert nanobots, then maybe we can upload our knowledge into the cloud. If we do that, then we enter maybe a different form of the metaverse than Meta is describing. Not this sci-fi, far away and scary one, but the one where there's a natural merger of AR, VR, voice, and that becomes a mixed reality between the real world and the virtual world. And that will continue, and by 2045, and maybe possibly earlier, because of the latest developments we see in AI development, we see that computers will actually, as a life form, will be more intelligent than people. That is the moment where the currently small AI we're having will really be replaced by the general AI that enables AI to reason, not only to learn from the past, but to reason, to really invent new things and be even smarter than humans. It's interesting to look at his predictions because they were so accurately true. And once our brain is in the cloud, then of course computer viruses are extremely dangerous and should be something of real concern. This might look a little bit scary to some of us, but it also represents an enormous potential for innovation. We see that AI, IoT, AR, augmented reality, and virtual reality are bringing us to the metaverse in the way we see in the predictions of Kurzweil. And they represent an enormous potential. And our next speaker, Mark, will go deeper into the adoption of AI, especially by B2B companies. This is what IBM research shows, and I think it's rather optimistic that 35% of the companies already is using AI. And I also think that this prediction that 80% of the executives believe that AI will be used for automation in 2025. And maybe it is true that that is 80%, but that will merely be the use of AI for process optimization, for cost reduction, and the real value of AI will be in more innovative, Metaverse kind of applications. The things we're going to talk about today, AR applications, virtual reality, and how that blends into our normal physical life. And just to give you an illustration what that means, we're going to zoom in on Apple. They are using AI far beyond process optimization and cost savings. And you think these are glasses. The Vision Pro, they announced last year that these are glasses. But this is going far beyond glasses. What they did is they created something that seamlessly blends digital content and the physical space. This headset provides you with a multiple of screens that you can place anywhere in the room. It means also that you can navigate without the traditional mouse we're knowing, without the traditional computer. What they show here is that you do it with your eyes, hands, and voice. And that's also the reason why I endorse you to visit the Google YouTube video, because there you see that also the navigation is entirely by voice and entirely by hand movements. What Apple says is welcome to the era of spatial computing, adding computer into space, in your personal space, so that you don't need a desktop and your apps will follow you wherever you are. So what they did is they created an operating system. They didn't create glasses, they created an operating system. An operating system that enables you and that will blend B2C and B2B experiences, your office applications, or their keynote as they call them, and on-screen presentations, presenting to an audience that you can project in your room and in your space. That's what they're actually doing. What they're actually doing is that they not only design classes and produce classes, but that they incorporate all aspects that are needed to change the business model, to involve all departments to create that ecosystem and create that one database where you can connect all that information and use it to create holistic customer experiences. That requires a new way of working that goes over the traditional silos of organizations, that is ultimately customer-centric and focused on creating holistic experiences. Today's examples in what we're going to see presented by Room in the AR and VR applications, and what Fischer is going to show you on how they apply AR and VR and AI, is about changing the script, is about introducing new ways of working in your organization to create new and innovative experiences. Well, so much for this introduction. I would like to hand over to Commerce 360 that are going to tell you more about the data and the developments. And I wish you very, very much a pleasure in this session where we've got a great lineup of speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arjen, for your extensive introduction and the forecast of what technologies will bring. Up next is Mark, Senior Vice President B2B and Market Research of Digital Commerce 360, who will talk about the speed at which B2B sellers adopt new technologies. So please, Mark, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. The important thing to realize with each of the passing quarters as the year ends is that there is a sea change underway in B2B e-commerce, and this sea change is indeed global. The takeaway here from my first slide is that if you look at the acceleration of where B2B e-commerce has been going at the rate it's been going, and this is primarily a North American slide that we did from a survey that was from our June timeframe. So it's still within range of the year, so to speak. But my point is, I don't care if that's a North American slide. It can be Europe, it can be EMA, it can be any place in the world for any B2B markets. And those particular stats are going to be the same because, as we all know, ancient history, the pandemic changed business to business buyer behavior. What that did was to accelerate the digital commerce experience. At the same time, you've got a shift in who the next generation procurement and supply chain directors are. They're more prone to self-service, if you will. So all of these factors have been building for the last 3 years, and now they're evident here in my first slide, which is that as we get into 2024 and beyond, what you're seeing here is that more and more sales across the spectrum, across the B2B buying cycle, are being driven by an entirely digital aspect. I'm going to get more into that in just a second here. So one of the things that has changed primarily is that the B2B buyer is completely in charge of what they want to do on a site. And we've done years and years of research on this, and I like to kind of bring these stats up because they haven't changed much in recent years, which is you tend to think of an individual as being, the person who's behind the screen doing all the buying and selling for a particular organization. Well, frankly, that's not the case. Our research shows that on average, it's a B2B buying team. And that team can be as many as 2. Team can be as many as 10, but the average seems to be between 3 and 5 people. So there's a buying team that does the online e-commerce for their particular seller organization. And other stats that are driving my second slide here is that all of this is being driven by teams of 3 to 5, as I mentioned. But the point is, they do extensive research, at least a month, sometimes 60 days, sometimes longer, before they even do the first transaction with a B2B buyer they may have on the radar screen. So my point is, long before the actual buying process begins, the digital research cycle begins first, and that has a lot to play into part of what my recurring theme here for this morning is, which is B2B buying and selling in this day and age is going to be driven by the user experience, and it's all online. So over the course of the last 20 years, for as long as my colleague Paul Demery and I have been covering B2B commerce, there's a view that e-commerce or digital commerce, which is a more applicable term, is only focused on the e-commerce site or the e-commerce app. I used to be a purist that way, but as I mentioned, there's B2B buying teams, 3 to 5 people. They take on average 30 days before they will make a transaction on your site because they're busy checking out if you have what they want, how they want, when they want, and then how it will be delivered. So there's a lot of research going into even before the first transaction is coming to a B2B buyer site. But a stat that is giving a lot of people thought in this day and age, and frankly keeping a lot of CMOs and CIOs up at night, is that these B2B buyers, and this is reflected in my slide here, e-commerce and e-commerce apps are only one part of the digital commerce cycle, because a digital buyer may come to a B2B buying organization across as many as few as 3, on average 5, or as many as 10 different channels. That could be anything from the site to procurement to EDI to what began as a physical transaction goes more online. So my point here is that the user experience is being driven by the fact that a lot more buyers are confident that they want to do things digitally, and as a result of that, they're coming at these B2B buying organizations across the spectrum and across multiple channels. And it doesn't end there. The complexity only begins because look at e-commerce punch-out. What might begin as an e-commerce transaction in the end becomes a punch-out transaction. So that could involve the branch. That could involve BOPUS of the branch, if you will. So a lot of mixing and matching going on here, and a lot of new things are being tried and looked at. But the bottom line is, once again, that B2B buyer, what they want to come at you digitally, and that's going to my next slide is going to kind of show that if I could. Okay, so this is not new to a lot of people, but I think my point is half the people that have an e-commerce site that took our survey are basically they're in the game. 50% are in the game, but only 36% and then 13% are what you call ahead of the game or making use of emerging digital technologies. So, you know, the heart and soul of e-commerce technology is always going to be the e-commerce platform. I like to call that the mothership. So the mothership is there, but you've got a lot more spokes being attached to the hub that is digital commerce. So I began my presentation talking about a sea change. Part of what that sea change is, and part of what the other speakers are going to get into here, is what are the new technologies accelerating the B2B buying experience. So I won't spend a lot of time talking about the relative use of AI or headless commerce or connected commerce or all of those. All that's coming. And the speakers after me are going to kind of detail what those are. My point to you here is to tell you that the landscape is changing, so fastly changing, that what's happening is this is what the new technology is leading to. So it's a multi-legged stool when it comes to what's the emerging digital technology ecosystem. But if you want to know, top of mind, why a lot of e-commerce buyers and sellers are looking at aspects of new technology like AI as applied to the e-commerce platform or the supply chain or to the front end, you know, customer experience, customer service experience, it's all reflected right here. So that's a pretty aggressive slide. There's a lot kind of going on here. But in the end, what this tells you is this is how companies today wish to do digital commerce with the buyers they choose to engage with. So my point of adding all this here is this is what your e-commerce site, and more importantly, your digital commerce ecosystem with all those multiple touch points needs to plug into and figure out here, because my slide here kind of shows you, frankly, what is very top of mind with the buyer. And I don't need to remind people on the call here that B2B buyers are very, very picky in this day and age, and they can afford to be. So my next slide, please. Okay, so if you look at where it is that the buyers are thinking about investing, it all goes back to the fact that a lot more of these, there's a lot of website upgrades, there's a lot of portal upgrades, there's a lot of connectivity upgrades being plugged into what's happening with the digital technology ecosystem across the board here, if you will. So AI has been very much talked about, you know, and of course, a lot of confines here. So far, that's being applied more to, let's say, the personalization and product side of the e-commerce cycle here, if you will. What we're hearing from the manufacturers and distribution companies that we talk to daily when it comes to AI it's only going to be probably in Q1 or Q2 of next year where you're beginning to kind of see the rollout deep into the e-commerce platform for actually kind of buying something. And the form that's going to take is maybe a chat box to really advanced search, or the chat box to really kind of help you nail down, the product features you want before you kind of make the actual purchase order, if you will. That's one example of that. But in conjunction with this, you're seeing a lot more activity about updating content management systems, PMI systems, if you will. So all of that is being migrated to more of a cloud environment, because all of this is kind of coming out of a cloud environment. But keep in mind, there is still a lot of legacy to come to play out there. And you know what? That's not going away anytime soon. But how soon it will go away is going to be dictated by the fact that the B2B buyer wants these new forms of technology. So here's my shopping list of what basically the sellers are up to, because this is what the buyers tell them they want. So can my next slide be advanced, please? Okay, so you can't forget the use of marketplaces in this day and age. My colleague Paul and I, we began covering marketplaces back during the dot-com crash. That's how far back we go covering e-commerce, if you will. So, I mean, back then, as it is now, the concept was perfectly sound. A common platform linking buyers to sellers to do transactions according to any kind of vertical market or general business market made a lot of sense. What happened was the technology was not there, the buyer interest was not there, the seller interest was not there. So the consortiums that were supposed to coming together took years to kind of come together. So over the course of, say, 2001 going into the pandemic, of course you had examples of vertical markets where marketplaces really were an effective and in use and a well-utilized e-commerce channel. Aerospace, automotive parts, and healthcare might be the first three that kind of come to mind here. But, the activity was very, very quiet, very nascent, or frankly, nothing at all in a lot more verticals. Well, of course, once again, all that changed going right directly into, the first aspect of the pandemic, when a lot of companies saw their supply chains from China dry up. So that set off a flurry of activity. And my background to that channel here is that you can't forget marketplaces in today's buyer-seller digital commerce ecosystem, because in 25 years of covering any aspect of e-commerce, whether it's B2C or B2B, I can flat out tell you I have never seen a more faster growing sales channel on the B2B side especially than marketplaces. And that's reverberated by some of the numbers that we just compiled for our latest marketplace report. 5 years ago, I counted 75, and I was lucky to count 75. Last year in 2022, I counted 300, could have kept going. This year, I counted 500, and I am very confident that within 2 years, that the number of vertical B2B marketplaces within the U.S., because that's primarily where my research took place, is going to be over 1,000. My three takeaways for here are this fold. User experience is going to drive B2B commerce today and going forward. The technology ecosystem is changing to more AI, connected commerce, headless commerce types of functionality, cloud-based. Final takeaway, if the data is not clean and the legacy systems don't connect to the new front-end system, that's still going to be a struggle for many B2B sellers. So with that, I thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you, Mark, for today and for your talk. We move on to Mario, who is a senior digital business consultant at Smart Commerce for the digital innovation landscape and roadmap for 2024.
First and foremost, thank you for the introduction and welcome to the digital innovation landscape and roadmap 2024. One remark I have here is some of the slides are pretty text and data heavy, so don't panic. You will be able to download them afterwards. Okay, let's start with an overview. We separated this presentation into 3 parts, which are challenges, new technologies and trends, and how innovation leverages new technologies. And as you may have noticed in the top right corner, I'm working and speaking for smart commerce, and we will talk about what smart commerce is later on. But before that, I want to introduce you to our customers. Those are admittedly mostly German manufacturers, wholesalers, and innovators. And you might ask yourself, why am I showing this to you? Because we asked these businesses about their future perspective regarding challenges and technologies, and some of the resulting quotes I'm going to present you later on. There is one thing all these companies have in common, and that is they face one challenge or another, as all businesses do, but some of them can be solved through modern technologies, and others, however, can't. The question is, what are these challenges we're trying to solve? Here we are looking at a study by the ECC Köln. ECC Köln is a sub-brand of the prestigious Institute for Trade Research of Cologne, established in 1999. And they asked German businesses, what are the challenges you think will dominate the B2B sector in 2023? And as you can imagine, most responses were mostly about costs, like energy costs, high purchasing prices and transportation costs, also delivery issues. And there's not much we can do about these things with the help of modern technology, at least not on an individual business scale. But further down, we also got a shortage of skilled workers, increased competition, demands regarding sustainability, and those are things we can definitely work on. Let's examine what is keeping us back then. Here we ask our customers, what are the challenges of integrating new technologies and fostering adaptability in your business? And they answered. To make it short, they face challenges with updates, internationalization, and implementing new systems due to outdated software, resulting in significant time investment for project teams to even stay current. There is a commitment to innovation, though, through financial investments and internal IT resources, but the risk appetite for investments is so low, particularly in Germany, that it is leading to a reluctance to adopt new technologies because they are seen as risky. This is slowly changing, but why did most of them didn't invest in new technologies earlier? Because oftentimes what you find is lack of internal support, channel conflicts, integration problems, lack of budget, the need to stay up to date. And I'm pretty sure most of you wouldn't argue when, for example, a new production facility needs all of these things, like internal support, integration, and most and foremost budget. But somehow in Germany, this paradigm doesn't apply to investments into technology for many businesses. This meme you may already know from the internet or LinkedIn, and I think it describes the topic pretty well. But all right, let's look into the future. Enough of looking into the past. We ask our customers another question, and that is, are there certain technologies you think will be particularly relevant in the upcoming years? What you can see is they are exploring AI, especially in their recommendation systems. There is a shift towards breaking up large systems into microservices communicating via APIs, and they are anticipating AI applications taking over tedious tasks, with humans only focusing on the thinking work, like AI writing code based on human instructions, or AI writing social media posts, AI generating image thumbnails. But let's have a look at the role of new technologies along the customer journey. Note here that this is the first of 2 slides, only depicting the pre-sales and the purchase phase. On the left-hand side, you can see the pre-sales stage. These points can be roughly separated into 2 groups. First, precise and personalized information for the customer during this phase, and second, a more immersive product presentation, like AI, AR, or VR could be. On the right, you can clearly see that this has to be a German study because invoice and delivery printing is the most requested feature. Note that most of these points are mere digitalization projects than innovation projects, except maybe the product configurator. Let's take a look at the remaining two areas, which are after sales and cross-functional features. Here we can see that logistics are the main concern, which is relatable after years of just-in-time management followed by numerous delivery difficulties like we've seen in the Suez Channel or during COVID-19, the current war in Europe. For the cross-functional features on the right, you can also see a quite conservative set of features being customer portals, responsive layouts in 2023, live chat, and some others. These technologies are only the tip of the iceberg, though. There's also IoT, AI, virtual reality, composable commerce, and many more technologies. And there are reasons why businesses can't simply ignore them. Here are some examples. Example 1. Search engines are increasingly relying on AI to personalize product lists, search results, and website navigation. Intershop just introduced that Spark AI will be the new standard and will ship it with all new systems. It combines human expertise with the precision of AI, and I'm pretty curious what Tobias will present us today. The second example is AI and VR technology transforming the way consumers and businesses shop online. This includes a wide range of applications, from projecting a sofa into your living room to finding the right spare part for a forklift from a 3D model. This trend is expected to grow in 2024 as more retailers adopt AR and VR. And Johannes from Room will show you more about these applications. Last but not least, the Internet of Things. IoT is connecting everything. You might think of fridges, heaters, lights, smart home applications, but in B2B, this is also true for oil pumps, screws, and tires. The scope it provides for more security and a better understanding of your customers is almost limitless. Rahel will tell you more about how they were able to make use of this technology at Fischer in an upcoming presentation. Finally, the end goal we have in mind with all this technology is a better universal experience. A universal experience, that means a good experience no matter what your role or perspective is. Better from a business perspective, better from an employee perspective, better from a customer perspective. Hard word to pronounce for German. We at Smart Commerce, as an implementation service provider, achieve this for our customers by using latest technology in the following 3 steps. Improving the digital customer experience, for example, through AR and VR visualizations. Increasing the customer satisfaction, for example, through AI chatbots or helping agents. And increasing the competitiveness and revenue opportunities of our customers, for example, through intelligent self-ordering IoT sensors and applications. Speaking of Smart Commerce, I still owe you the introduction. So, who is Smart Commerce? We are your go-to partner for fully integrated digital transformations with a clear emphasis on e-commerce projects. We take you from the initial blueprint to the final operational stage with in-depth knowledge and consulting skills across the manufacturing and wholesaling industries. And of course, we implement and innovate new technologies as seen in this presentation. On top, we collaborate with excellent partners and customers. Luckily for us, they can tell their own story today. So that's it with my presentation. Thank you very much, and have fun with the other presentations.
Well, thank you, Mario. And we will indeed go to Johannes, the head of channel and alliances from Room, and who will show us why we should focus on virtual commerce.
So thank you to all the previous presenters for building such a beautiful stage for me today. In all the presentations, we have heard about augmented reality, virtual reality, about about virtual commerce, which means combining these technologies in the commerce area. And today I want to dive into this a little bit deeper with you. Now, why would we think about virtual commerce? I mean, we've heard creating outstanding customer experiences and so on. That is very important. But the main reason behind that is that the reality is 3D. And 3D is becoming a reality for us. So we're from Room and we deliver enterprise metaverse solutions. Metaverse is a very abstract term, and in this presentation you will learn what that can do for your business. We've been around since 2016, so way before the big metaverse hype, and have I'm sorry, I lost the track here. We've been around since 2016, and what we do is we provide one comprehensive platform that lets you create 3D, augmented reality, and virtual reality experiences on your own without being an expert, and deliver this on the web. Yeah, when we think about metaverse, most people instantly think about virtual reality glasses. This is not our anticipation of the metaverse. We think of it as the next iteration of the internet as we know it, or as a three-dimensional internet, which can be accessed through the devices that your customers already have in their pockets or on their desktops, meaning their smartphones or laptops. And we deliver the solutions for you to create these experiences. Here we see one example of how we can take your commerce back to the future. So what we do here is we've created a 3D object with a high level of detail, but with a very low file size, which allows us to deliver this within the web. So you do not need to download any application. You do not need to have a long loading time. You can experience this three-dimensional object directly on the web. With this huge QR code that you've seen, you are able to display it in augmented reality right in your environment. This works with small objects. It works also with large objects. Most of us are familiar with this feature from Amazon or IKEA, who invested a ton of money and resources to create these. With our platform, now everybody is able to create these virtual and augmented reality experiences, come up with configurators of different products, and of course, the benefits for a B2C market, they are obvious. However, this also perfectly works for the B2B world. These experiences can be directly integrated into your website. There's a video that should start playing now. Perfect. Giving your customers a better understanding of your product, especially in a B2B environment where you have more complex products that need more explanation. You can let the customer experience the product closer on your website without having to get in contact with you. And this bears a lot of opportunities if we go to the next slide. But the relevant information you can still read, which are the overall KPI improvements that we've measured across our customers. So first of all, we've seen increased conversation rates of up to 30%. This is mostly due to an increased dwell time of up to 360% because 3D items, virtual experiences in your website are engaging. They keep the customer interested, keep them staying on your site, and therefore increase the identification with the product, with your brand, with your offering. Also, the augmented reality feature helps you to reduce the return rates by up to 70% in some cases. And overall, the improved customer experience will also lead to a better Google ranking of up to 5 times better. And here we can see how that works. Firstly, we got to create the 3D object for you. We can start by taking a series of pictures or use your legacy pictures that you may have in your system, upload them into our platform and generate a 3D object that is web ready. However, most of you may already have 3D data or CAD files of their products. These files can be used through our platform and made web ready so you can deliver them as an outstanding 3D object. If we go to the next slide, we can see how that looks. Here's one example of Caterpillar, a 3D object of a ship engine, which is, I think, the size of a 3-story house or something, created from CAD data in a very high level of detail with annotations explaining the product. You can really zoom in, get a feel of the product, understand it better, also use it for marketing purposes. But you can also, on the next slide, see how you can explain products through animations and annotations. Here we see an industrial machine of a Nestro with animations or annotations that show how the product is working, how it can improve the processes of the customer, and therefore even adds more engagement to it. We will see what you can do in the next step on an example of Deutsche Telekom that have created a 3D object of their mobile routers. And what they saw was a high level of incoming calls of people asking, how should I set up this router in my home? It's a fairly easy process. However, Deutsche Telekom took the 3D object and built a virtual manual to the router setup. And showing in an A/B test, can we go back, please? Showing in an A/B test how how the 3D manual helps to decrease the incoming calls asking for support on the setup. So it shows on a very simple process explanation how it can support your customer onboarding processes. It can also help you with spare parts management, and that we'll see on the next slide that you've already seen now. Here we see an example of how one of our customers is using our product for spare parts management. So again, we have a 3D object of a wheelchair, and this wheelchair has an animation that explodes into its own pieces and parts. And let's say we need to identify the right spare part for one item. We just need to identify it, click on it, and we get the name, we get the article number in the SAP, and we get a link to the spare parts management system where we can directly reorder the missing spare part. Here we see the next level of virtual commerce. Here we see the virtual workshop of our customer Otto Bock with the wheelchairs, because they do not only have one wheelchair, they have multiple ones. And they thought, okay, if we have this spare parts management on one wheelchair now, why not do it for all wheelchairs, and why not place it in a virtual environment that we can again display on the web? And this is the next step that you can also do with our platform, create virtual environments, place your objects in there. And if we go to the next slide now, please. There you will see what our customer Becton Dickinson, a laboratory equipment manufacturer, did during the COVID pandemic. They had the problem that their salespeople could not go out to the customers anymore. So they thought, okay, let's set up a e-commerce environment. But it was not explaining well enough how the products work, how they work together, how to set up the right process chain in the laboratory. And this is what they did with their virtual environment that they've created on their own, where they can now show the ideal process flow, how their products interact with each other. They could upload all the relevant product information sheets, YouTube videos explaining the setup. All web content can be integrated and can be explored by the customer in the browser, but also in virtual reality. We can see an example of Deutsche Telekom again, where they have created their custom virtual flagship store, which is a remodeling of their physical flagship store in Cologne, where, of course, Telekom, they are showing their latest products, but they've also integrated an avatar that will guide us through the experience. Let's say we're interested in smart home IoT topics. Next slide, please. The avatar will take us to this area. And speaking of smart home IoT, that's a fairly complex process that needs some explanation sometimes. And this is what Deutsche Telekom did in their Wi-Fi experience, where you can see how the router is talking to the e-scooter and to all the smart home appliances and what the benefits of that could be. So the user can now find out in a playful way how to make use of their technology while staying in the experience for a much longer time than they would on a normal website. We see an example from, in this case, a B2B, but it again shows beautifully the capabilities of virtual showrooms that the customers can create on their own. Here we see an example of Porta Furniture Group, a furniture retailer in Germany, where they're showing their products that are, for example, not on stock in the physical store. So you have an extension of your physical store into the web that is also walkable, where with an integration here, you can directly go to the checkout without leaving the virtual world. Again, being supported by an avatar that can, again, guide you through the experience. These avatars can now also be powered by GPT-4, of course. So you can have an intuitive native conversation with them through text or through voice in and output. You will see a small overview of the content management system that lies in the back that allows you to create your own 3D objects and virtual experiences all on your own or with the help of our great agency partners like Smart Commerce, for example. I'll be asking the question now, what if all of this could be integrated in your Intershop system right now? The good news is it can be, because we have a standing integration with Intershop, and with Smart Commerce we have a great integration partner that can support you on your journey to the metaverse and virtual commerce. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Johannes, for all those beautiful examples and the great examples you showed us. We go to Rahel, International Product Manager from the Fischer Group. She will take us through their approach to the development and implementation of new technologies.
Yes, thank you, Peter, for the introduction. So hello together. I am very happy to be here today with you talking about the power and opportunities of new technologies in this session. So let's try this internet clicker. Well, it works perfect. So probably every one of you have seen already this logo and have heard about the Fischer Group of companies, which is a market-leading company mainly in the construction industry. Mario just had this in one of his slides when he talked about the smart commerce, and most of the people think of physical fixing systems like screws and bolts. Everyone knows them from the construction shop nearby. But as it's known nowadays in changing also market situation, it's crucial also for us to stay competitive, to have to think out of the box. And if you have to stay on track, we as Fischer, we did this already in the history and especially in 2020 when we opened our Fischer Innovation Campus. As you can see, the Innovation Campus is a place to generate ideas beside our main fixing systems to work on new innovative technologies. So mainly we are located next to the Fischer headquarters in Germany, and we are developing smart services to innovate the field of construction. And when I say now I talk about my team, the products. So we are a cooperative startup within Fischer, and our main focus, as you can already probably hear in the name, is on smart and connected products. So my name is Rahel, and I'm working in the team as a product manager, and I'm very happy to share these use cases we are currently working at, to share also our experience with the work and also some insights in our daily work. So yeah, in this round, so thanks for having me. In cooperation with partner companies and other departments of Fischer, we are working mainly in 3 business fields, which are, as you can see here, construction monitoring, construction documentation. We are also developing mobile apps and also construction robotics. To give you a quick overview on these topics with construction monitoring, we developed a real-time monitoring solution where we extend our basic steel anchors, as you probably know, and discs with integrated sensor technology to reach the first level of an IoT product. That means we measure and monitor real-time data in buildings to prevent damage, for example, and ensure safety. I will get later a little bit more into the detail. So with our second business, the construction documentation, we are developing a solution to document processes on the construction side just in a digital way. We store them in the cloud and we provide efficient construction reportings afterwards. So in addition, we are also working on mobile app solutions. We have one professional app, just more for the professional customers, and also one DIY app more for the home DIY workers. And the third part contains construction robotics, which is also a pretty new technology in the construction industry. So this is a holistic robotic solution for big projects or use cases where repetitive tasks are the daily business. So if you guys imagine you have a building like a new tunnel, you need to drill every 50 centimeters the same hole and do this for a couple kilometers. To keep these repetitive tasks really efficient, the Fischer Baubot can work this precise and drill holes in a number and also in a faster time as a person would do. So I could definitely talk a lot more detailed about all these three topics, but today I want to focus more on two main topics: construction monitoring and construction documentation. On these two topics, we are working together with our partner Smart Commerce. And in collaboration with Smart Commerce, we have developed, and also we are working with software development teams who are supporting us in the field of, as you guess, in terms of development. So since we are a big company, but nevertheless, we still, as connected products, we still have that startup character, and we have to react flexible on the market needs so that we meet the customer and his needs. So in detail, our construction monitoring portfolio contains a sensor integrated disc and a sensor anchor who is connected with an IoT gateway. So both products monitor and they also document facilities and also buildings. So for the development of a solution like this, you need really to be flexible. You need to listen to the market. And this is something what we experienced also in the past years. We built it up, in this case, the first stage of MVPs to get customer feedback, and we continued improving and optimizing our solution. So for us, it was always easy to think we know what the customer needs, but if you don't talk to them and address their needs, you will not figure this out. So with construction monitoring, we, as I already said, built up an MVP. We went to the customers, we presented our solution, and we got feedback. So this is currently the status, and we still need to be flexible. We still need to improve and also develop on these things, but this is our process. And also in this development process, we figured out use cases with customers. For example, that you also get a better picture of these applications. Some customers had safety critical buildings like bridges, which have to be monitored to prevent damage. Also, we had use cases of the maintenance of buildings, which is super heavy. So as you can here see in the picture in the middle, we had a use case of having these wind turbines out on the sea where people frequently had to go out, drive out, and climb up to do the frequent maintenance. So we tried to identify the customer need, and also we were looking to find synergies that we still can profit from existing services and also technologies of Fischer, which we already have, and implement the new technology in our solution. So that's, for example, why the IoT gateway, which is connected to the anchor, and the sensor disk are communicating with the Fischer Cloud here, and the customer can access the data on the professional app, super easy, mobile, and has an extra access on their measure data of their buildings. So especially with the construction monitoring, we are facing often the challenge that these products need much effort to explain them to the customer, since they are like more technical, complex, and a lot of customers, they don't know that these kind of solutions are existing, because we are still trying to find out which use cases fit well for our application. So in this case, right now, we are still working on multiple pilot projects, and we are having a lot of conversation just to listen the customer. So the second use case, what I want to talk about, is construction documentation. And this construction documentation is, so to say, born out of a customer need. So Fischer has our own business unit, which has a focus on fire ducts. So we are selling these Firestop products to huge projects internationally. So with our Firestop portfolio, we are delivering worldwide projects, like as you can see here, the financial center in Istanbul, for example, And we are selling our systems and product to international customers. So as you can imagine, on a construction site like this, we have multiple levels, we have multiple rooms, and a lot of fire systems are built or installed in this building. Also from the law, sometimes it's required to document all fire stop installation, and this is done manually and by hand until today. So Fischer decided to use our existing technologies, like, as I already mentioned, the professional app, and implement a new feature, construction documentation. So together with Smart Commerce, we developed also an MVP. We went on construction sites and we got feedback. That was not only positive feedback, also to be honest, but feedback which was super important for us. We took it with us, we categorized, and also we prioritized which features do we need in the future, and also which features fit to the mark. So to come back to the point of knowing your customer, we thought having an app version is a huge benefit. Oh, yeah, next slide. So we thought having the app version is a huge benefit and is really nice to document super fast for the customer. So we went on construction site. The customer said, well, the mobile version is good, but it's crucial also to have a web version. So we started thinking about a web concept, and in collaboration also with business units of Firestop, with different subsidiaries who knows the market really good, we created a version which was also available in the web. So then the web version was born, and we could extend our solution, and which was fitting better to the market. So especially what we learned during the whole development process, and we are still in the middle of it, I can promise, you won't have the 100% solution at any point. So the market circumstances nowadays are changing. Actually, being on an international market is a challenge. So different customers have different expectations. They have different requests and specifications. So for us, we learned communication is really crucial also to stay innovative and to meet the customer needs. And now I want to end these use cases and also these insights, which I gave you, into the Fischer Group and also what we are doing in our industry, with emphasizing again that it's crucial for companies to work on new technologies. It's super important to stay competitive in the market, to stay innovative, but also always to stay close to the customers. I guess we should think big, we should continue in this thinking, but also start small and never stop being close to the customer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rahel. I've got one question for you from Arjen, who is here in the studio as well.
Thank you for your very insightful presentation. And I really like to see how this is changing Fischer in just supplying materials, in becoming a real partner of your customers, and especially asking your customers what they want and get their advice. But how does this change your organization and the mentality of your organization? Because you told us this is being done from a startup perspective. What does it do to your organization and to the mentality of your organization?
Yes. What is maybe important to emphasize in this point, we have different mission statements from the Fischer Group of companies, which are in an international setup. So in this mission statement, we also say we are an innovative company. So that's why it's also a little bit in our culture that we have to make investment in these things, and that we also look, okay, what does the market offer? What does also, like, what are competitors doing? We have to stay aware of that, what also customers are needing. So especially with the sensor technology, some customers don't know that they maybe need this product until we are talking to them and we presenting this. So that's why it's super important that we still have this in our cultures and that we still are investing in new innovations like that.
Okay, great, great. It's nice to hear. So it's not only the innovation to stay ahead of the competition, but also to change your relationship with your customers and engage them in a different way.
Totally, yeah. Because also, I guess the requirements from the customers are changing with the time as well. I guess the customers, they had different needs 20 years ago until now. So this is also what we have to be aware of, and this is why we have to stay flexible in this case.
Okay, thank you very much.
Finally, I would like to give the floor to Tobias, who is Executive Vice President of the Customer Lifecycle at Intershop, and he will discuss the possibilities offered by the Intershop platform.
Thank you very much for this introduction. Now I would like to give you some more insights about a real solution. We have heard so far quite a lot of technologies, but also trends and statistics. And before we jump into a live demo, I would like just to emphasize or add some more things just to wrap that up, right? And what you can see here is the hype cycle for digital commerce from Gartner, so some kind of external validation. And it's very interesting to see on the right side that already on the plateau of stability, we also see already like a progressive web app and all these new technologies, but also virtual customer assistant, right? And then also the technologies mentioned today really moving into that direction. But also on the other hand, you can see that like the visual search, product visualization, but also immersive commerce is still in the through of disillusionation, right? And that's important that you speak very early about this kind of topics. But as we just heard also from the Fischer Group, that's important to start big, think big, but start small. Pick the right use cases from the feedback from your customers. Work on this kind of topics to make something happen, to get feedback and to improve. But on the other hand, this is what you can see on the left: commerce in the metaverse. It's just at the beginning, right? And it's a long term that it will need some more time till it's really fully appreciated and part of that B2B world. But that's why I think this session today is very important to think about it. And I would like to show you some more examples how to start that. Also, just in terms of what is the next step, right? That's always difficult. You have seen now a lot of nice examples already. And we guide our customers really with this kind of, we call it the digital commerce maturity levels. That means really moving step by step from an information portal to a transactional portal, using an online shop, providing more self-service, but then also integrating these new technologies we just talked about, right? Providing like a personalized visual guided portal. Yeah, we have seen today from Arjen, the Metaverse is growing very fast, and also from Mark that the main focus should be on the customer and user experience. That's always the crucial part, and that's why I would like to show you some more examples here how this is fully integrated. And for sure, that's not the end of it, right? The Metaverse is just at the beginning here, but adding more and more smart technologies. You just saw from the Fischer Group. To add this to the personalization again really brings us and hopefully you and also the partners to some kind of autonomous portal, what we call. That means giving predictions and recommendations, not for the end user of the smart portal itself, but also empowering the business owners, e-commerce managers of manufacturers, distributors, and retailers to really identify the market potentials. Also very important to have a solid base. And a solid base really means to have a composable commerce platform. And this is crucial because on the one hand, to start really fast, you need to have some kind of prefabrication, we call. So we have a lot of out-of-the-box capabilities, but on the other hand, all these new technologies, the customer journey is changing, and so on. It's important to provide extensive API capabilities to integrate, like we just will see AR, VR, mixed reality into the platform, utilizing product information, pricing information, checkout, and all the other things. And we would highlight later on how we integrated a third-party application, because then everything can be done by one vendor. That's not realistic, but utilizing the innovation power, like from Room, but also from Smart Commerce and other partners, to bring that into your customer journey. So now I think it's time, and I have two parts here. First, I have the immersive experience, and then a more operational or technical approach, really working on 3D product visualizations. And that means bringing your company into this kind of metaverse world means also to rethink your positioning. The Fischer Group already mentioned that, to position yourself to being a digital company, digital first company, whatever, be innovative as much as possible. And we saw already the examples from Telecom and so on, but this one maybe just shows another example that can fully be integrated. You know, maybe some of you have a website, having your corporate website with the online shop and so on, and you can connect that to some kind of experience. That means people that maybe don't know you yet, they can experience your product portfolio, your service portfolio, but also your mission. What are your drivers? How can you help? Maybe seeing, as you can see here, very easily, not just the CEO of your company, but really people that you have met on certain that are responsible to support you, right? Where you can experience the different products. And I think this is just as a teaser here, very easy, but it just make you think about how you can position your company. Instead of having just a web page showing this is my vision, this is my product portfolio, you need to move it into the new world, right? To make it really touchable, tangible, so to say. And I think this could be a good driver. This won't happen in a week or a month, but I think, as you can see in the Gartner hype cycle, you should think about that now, that maybe in the next years you can add more and more things. And now let's speak about adding more things. And here I switch just to another example, right? And to be honest, we saw already from Johannes the DeLorean, and it's really difficult to top the DeLorean, I think. So I do maybe the following. Let's pretend we have a company selling time machines, right? It fits into the story maybe a little bit. And this is what you can see here. We have now this kind of smart portal I just mentioning, and I'm able, maybe I have bought already some kind of time machines. I need spare parts. I need some services, right? To make it, go directly into the future and stuff like that, right? So here the example is, as you can see, these are my time machines that I'm owning, right? So it's not an online shop anymore. It's really in my world. And I can see time machines. I just bought one here in Melbourne. I've been there some weeks ago, right? So I can see this kind of machine, and also additional data coming also from IoT. This was also a big topic of today, or a smaller topic of today, but also bringing machines there. This means when I now go there, I would like to see how is this machine operating. I need some real-time data, as you can see. How is it working? What are the sensoring data and so on? So I can have some more, very technical information that you can see here from the sensors. I can see, more statistics. How is the consumption of oil, whatever? What do I need? What are the services are coming up for that machine? We spoke today about focusing on user experience, but also I think Mark mentioned that having a Mario from Smart Commerce, having a customer portal, supporting your needs, really thinking about the machines owned by the customer, and how can I support their 24/7 operation of the machines? Because if that time machine closed for 1 hour, he's losing a lot of revenue, and that's why it's important to be always up to date. When is the service technician coming? When is the next maintenance window? I need some calibration services already scheduled, right? And then I can reorder already predictive some consumables. I can see spares from that machine. It's 2D. This is now piling up. We saw already some cool things from Johannes. And now the thing would be, I assume, to be honest, I haven't seen it in detail. I assume a time machine is very complex. A lot of spare parts, I don't know. It means really, let's jump into a 3D world, right? And this is what you already saw. But the difference to what we saw at Johannes' example is really it's fully integrated in that buying journey, right? So that means I'm now aware I have that kind of machine, I need some additional information. And as you can see, it's not an external application. It's really like seamlessly integrated into that buying experience or service experience, right? And I see now this nice time machine, or maybe some things are recognized, and then you can click on it. You can directly go into the details. You can, as Johannes said, you can easily pick the material numbers. You can fetch the product information via the composable commerce platform, right? You can put it already in the shopping cart. You can ask when will it be delivered. Like you can see here, you can put it on an order template. You can have a quote request if that time machine spare part is very, very expensive. And for sure, it doesn't stop there. Maybe it automatically pre-emphasize, oh, I want to have a new calibration service is needed. I can book the service appointment, right? So at the end, it's just a technology like this augmented reality. You can also, I think Johannes showed that, immediately say, hey, I want to see that in my mixed reality glasses that I have, right? I can use it for my service technician that are embedded into that buying journey and then maybe delivering the service to replace that product, right? And I think that's very important that you can easily integrate it. Yeah, this is not just integrated in the machine detail page, so to say. It can be part of any kind of customer journey, right? And at the end, also my advice would be following also the Fischer group here, really work on the main topics from your customer, prioritize them, add it, and really try to solve some pain points. For example, have issues selecting the right spare parts, right? And also with that, what you're seeing here, you're always in the context of the customer, of that time machine, yeah, with that serial number, with that services taken, with that spare parts incorporated over the years, right? And it's not an online shop anymore, yeah, just adding a product to the shopping cart. No, it's that experience. And this 3D thing is already, I think, very helpful, right? And it will be added more and more by B2B buyers or manufacturers and wholesalers. And this could be a good start into the metaverse, yeah, with providing really some efficiency increasing capabilities to existing online shop, right, at the end.
Yes, well, thank you, Tobias, for your cooperation and for the presentation. It's already time to wrap up the session, so therefore I would like to hand over to Arjen for a short wrap-up.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tobias, and all the other speakers for the insightful presentations. And what we've been talking today about is all these new technologies. And actually what we've seen is that those developments are going at an enormous fast pace, and that technology will facilitate it. And that was a nice bridge between Fischer and the presentation of Tobias. The Intershop platform already provides all the opportunities to merge these technologies and use them in a B2B operation. And actually what's interesting is that to see that the B2C and B2B experiences will merge, and actually that maybe the developments in B2C in the application of AI and IoT and AR and VR maybe are more relevant and will go faster than even go faster than in the B2C hemisphere. Once again, we're having these enormous developments, and it is extremely important in a time frame that is maybe as challenging as the Industrial Revolution was, is to define where your strategic ambition lies. As Smart Commerce already pointed out in their introduction, is there is no excuse to act upon this. You have to, because the world is moving. And what is interesting to see as well in the presentation of Room, as in the examples of Fischer, is that you have to experiment, to learn and discover. And you have to do those both things at the same time. The most important in this time frame is that you change your way of working. that you really start thinking from the customer perspective, and that your organization has to work in a holistic way. And the database at the bottom side reflects actually that technology is enabling all of this. That will come in its place. That will facilitate it. The real challenge for organization is to think starting about innovating their business models, to think about the way of working. So the main takeout of today is there is a very fast development, and in order to join that bandwagon and be a leader in B2B commerce, you also have to consider the way of working. And I want to thank everybody who was here today and who attended. I want to thank all the speakers. It was an excellent session, a very insightful session. I enjoyed it very much. And Peter, you've more news for us for the next sessions.
Yes, I would like to invite you all to the Huisman, Venego and Intershop webinar, which will take place at the 12th of December. And is all about selling complex projects. And today we have had a talk about many new technologies, but in the next session, we will, which will take place on January the 30th, we will dive into generative AI, and the technologies that AI offers for B2B. So thank you all once again for attending this webinar, and have a nice evening all.